Welcome to Book Buzz Reviews and Summaries. Power is seductive, elusive, and deeply embedded in the very fabric of human interaction. Whether we acknowledge it or not, it influences everything: our relationships, careers, and even our smallest social exchanges. In the 48 Laws of Power, Robert Greene reveals what many of history's most influential figures have known for centuries: power is neither accidental nor arbitrary. It is a skill, an art, and it can be learned, mastered, and wielded to one's advantage. From the corridors of ancient palaces to modern boardrooms, Greene's laws transcend time, distilling the essence of what makes people powerful. But this is not a book about fleeting success or shallow manipulation. It's a study in strategy, an exploration of human nature, ambition, and the often ruthless pursuit of influence. Greene draws on the lives of Machiavelli, Napoleon, Sun Tzu, and countless others to craft a blueprint for navigating the world of power, showing that while society may condemn the naked pursuit of it, power is always at play beneath the surface. From the very first law, never outshine the master, Greene pulls no punches. Power is a delicate dance. Challenge authority too openly, and you'll find yourself crushed. Remain too submissive, and you'll be forever overshadowed. Greene illustrates, through riveting historical examples, the subtle balance needed to ascend the social and political ladders without falling prey to envy, resentment, or revenge. These aren't just abstract principles, they are battle-tested strategies used by kings, generals, and moguls throughout history. Greene's writing is hypnotic, pulling readers into the dark, often morally ambiguous reality of power. His observations are sharp, at times unsettling, but always honest. He dares to acknowledge what most people shy away from: to be successful in any domain, you must understand the dynamics of control and influence. This isn't a guide for tyrants or villains, it's a survival manual for anyone who seeks to navigate the power struggles that define our world. What makes the 48 Laws of Power so captivating isn't just its deep historical insight, but its practical relevance. Each law is accompanied by concrete examples of those who followed or ignored them, those who thrived and those who failed. Greene weaves tales of triumph and disaster, illustrating how the slightest misstep in judgment or strategy can lead to downfall. Whether it's manipulating perception, mastering the art of timing, or knowing when to retreat, Greene's laws are a toolkit for the modern world. But make no mistake, this book isn't for the faint-hearted. Greene exposes the raw, often uncomfortable truths about human nature, revealing that kindness, loyalty, and transparency are not always the keys to success. Instead, he argues that power is often acquired through subtlety, deception, and, when necessary, aggression. In the 48 Laws of Power, Robert Greene doesn't just tell you how to play the game, he shows you why you must. In a world where the stakes are high and competition is fierce, understanding the rules of power isn't just an option, it's a necessity. Prepare to see the world, and yourself, in a whole new light. Introduction to Power. Before diving into the laws themselves, it's crucial to understand the concept of power as Greene presents it. Power, in this context, is the ability to influence and control the actions and decisions of others, either directly or indirectly. Power is neither inherently good nor bad, it simply is. What matters is how you wield it. Greene's work is not about advocating for deceit or cruelty, but rather about recognizing that power structures exist in every facet of life, and those who fail to navigate them often fall victim to others who do. Greene draws upon the works of Machiavelli, Sun Tzu, and historical anecdotes to outline a framework that encourages self-awareness, strategic thinking, and a deep understanding of human nature. He argues that to thrive in competitive environments, whether in business, politics, or social spheres, one must master the subtle and often unseen forces that govern relationships. Now, let's take a deep dive into each of the 48 laws and explore how they apply in various facets of life, from personal relationships to corporate structures. Law 1: Never outshine the master. The first law of power advises us to avoid outshining those in positions of authority above us. Historical examples illustrate how showing off superior talents or intelligence can provoke insecurity and resentment in leaders. Greene highlights the case of Nicolas Fouquet, a finance minister under Louis XIV, who was imprisoned after hosting a grandiose party that eclipsed the king's own achievements. By overshadowing his master, Foucault sealed his fate. In modern times, this law can apply in corporate environments where ambition can be seen as a threat to higher-ups. The key is to remain competent and capable, but always allow those above you to feel secure in their position. One should, instead, subtly project humility and deference while quietly building their own base of power. Law 2. Never put too much trust in friends, learn how to use enemies. Greene argues that friends are more likely to betray you due to envy or competition, while enemies often serve better purposes because they are predictable. By turning enemies into allies, one can gain valuable insight into their motivations and use their antagonism to advantage. An excellent example is how Cesare Borgia used his enemy, Ramiro de Orco, to consolidate his rule in the Romagna. Once de Orco had done his dirty work, Borgia disposed of him, earning the loyalty of the people. In the business world, this law might translate into not relying too heavily on personal relationships for advancement, but instead seeing competition as an opportunity to sharpen one's skills and strategies. Trust should be metered out carefully, and alliances should be built strategically. Law 3. Conceal your intentions. One of the cornerstones of Greene's philosophy is the need to mask your true motives. By keeping others off balance and in the dark, you can manipulate situations to your advantage. This law is about cultivating unpredictability. Greene uses the example of Cardinal Richelieu, the powerful French statesman, who made his intentions so obscure that his enemies could never mount a coordinated attack. Greene advises cultivating an air of mystery and misdirection. By doing so, others become confused, allowing you to operate without opposition. In business, revealing too much can invite competition or sabotage, so it's often better to maintain a facade of ambiguity while working toward your goals in the background. Law 4. Always say less than necessary. This law emphasizes the power of restraint in speech. Greene highlights how talking too much or revealing too many details can weaken your position. By remaining silent or saying little, you not only prevent giving away valuable information but also cultivate an aura of mystery and power. The less you say, the more people will fill in the gaps with their imagination, often attributing greater intelligence or power to you than you actually possess. For instance, during his reign, King Louis XIV was known for his stoic demeanor and his habit of saying little in conversations. His silence gave him a commanding presence, and others were left to interpret his words, often bending over backward to please him. This law is particularly useful in negotiations or situations where emotions run high. Silence can disarm an opponent or prevent unnecessary conflicts. In the corporate world, the ability to listen more than you speak can yield valuable insights while preserving your own strategic edge. Law 5. So much depends on reputation, guard it with your life. Reputation, Greene argues, is one of the most valuable assets you can possess. It precedes you in all interactions and can determine how people treat you. Historical figures like Julius Caesar and Napoleon Bonaparte built formidable reputations that often did the work for them, whether in politics or on the battlefield. Greene stresses the importance of cultivating and protecting your reputation at all costs. Once tarnished, it can be difficult or impossible to restore. He advises readers to be aware of potential attacks on their reputation and to counter them swiftly and decisively. In the digital age, where information spreads quickly, this law has never been more relevant. A single misstep on social media or in public can destroy years of hard work in building a brand or personal identity. Law 6. Court attention at all costs. In the crowded world of power struggles, being visible is critical. Greene highlights how even negative attention can be better than no attention at all. He uses the example of P.T. Barnum, the famous showman, who understood that controversy and spectacle could generate massive publicity. Barnum knew that to stay relevant, one had to be constantly in the public eye, and he was willing to create controversy or even outrage to maintain attention. Greene also warns that failing to be noticed can render you irrelevant, making it easier for others to surpass you. In business, this could mean maintaining a high profile through media appearances, bold marketing strategies, or innovative products. In personal relationships, it could mean being the life of the party or the center of attention in social situations. The key is to ensure that you are never forgotten, even if it means provoking some negativity. Law 7. Get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit. This law is about leveraging the talents and efforts of others to achieve your own goals. Greene emphasizes that power often comes from the ability to delegate and use other people's strengths to your advantage. He illustrates this with the story of Thomas Edison, who is often credited with inventing the light bulb but actually had an entire team of engineers and researchers working under him. By taking credit for the achievements of others, one can build a reputation for competence and innovation without expending unnecessary effort. In the modern corporate world, this law translates into effective delegation and the ability to present the results of teamwork as your own. It is a harsh truth, but Greene argues that those who fail to recognize this dynamic often end up as the unsung heroes, while others reap the rewards of their hard work. Law 8. Make other people come to you, use bait if necessary. This law advises readers to make themselves the center of attention and force others to come to them, rather than the other way around. Greene notes that by drawing others to you, you maintain control over the situation, while if you pursue others, you give them power over you. One of the key figures he uses to illustrate this is Bismarck, the German statesman, who masterfully manipulated other European powers by creating conditions where they would approach him for alliances or support, allowing him to dictate terms. In everyday life, this can mean setting up situations where others feel compelled to seek your approval or assistance. By creating a sense of importance around yourself, you not only maintain control, but also increase your influence over those who come to you. Law 9. Win through your actions, never through argument. Greene warns against trying to convince others of your viewpoint through words alone, arguing that it is far more effective to demonstrate your ideas through action. He references the story of Galileo, who sought patronage for his discoveries not through arguments but by dedicating them to powerful figures like the Medici family, thereby securing their support without needing to argue his case. In the modern world, this law could apply to negotiations, where showing tangible results or leading by example can be more persuasive than lengthy debates. In relationships, actions often speak louder than words, and demonstrating loyalty, competence, or love is more powerful than simply professing it. Law 10. Infection, avoid the unhappy and unlucky. This law warns against associating too closely with those who carry misfortune or negativity. Greene draws from ancient Roman history, using examples like Marcus Crassus, whose association with the unlucky Spartacus rebellion led to his downfall. Greene's argument is that misfortune can be contagious, and associating with those who consistently fail or bring negative energy can drag you down as well. Instead, he advises surrounding yourself with positive, successful individuals who can inspire and support your own ambitions. In professional settings, this could mean avoiding toxic coworkers or individuals who bring down the morale of a team. In personal relationships, it may mean distancing yourself from people who are constantly embroiled in drama or negativity. Law 11. Learn to keep people dependent on you. The key to maintaining power, Greene argues, is to create a dynamic where others are dependent on your abilities, resources, or influence. He uses the example of Louis XI of France, who created a web of dependencies among his nobles to ensure that they could never rise against him. In modern times, this could mean cultivating specialized skills or knowledge that others rely on, ensuring that your position within a company or social group is secure. This law encourages building a network where others feel that they cannot succeed without you, giving you significant leverage. Law 12. Use selective honesty and generosity to disarm your victim. Greene introduces the idea that, while deceit is often a powerful tool in the pursuit of power, a strategic display of honesty or generosity can be more disarming. When people are accustomed to deceit or manipulation, an unexpected act of openness can cause them to lower their guard. Once disarmed, they become vulnerable to exploitation or manipulation. One historical example is that of con men, who often win over their targets with a small, genuine favor before moving in for the bigger score. In modern terms, this law speaks to the power of timing and selective vulnerability. Displaying honesty at the right moment can manipulate others into trusting you, which can then be used to your advantage. Similarly, small acts of generosity, given strategically, can build loyalty and make others feel indebted. This law can be applied in business negotiations where a minor concession might encourage trust, leading the opposing party to concede more significant points. In relationships, selective generosity can create an aura of goodwill that makes manipulation easier when the time comes. Law 13, when asking for help, appeal to people's self-interest, never to their mercy or gratitude. One of the harsh truths Greene reveals is that appeals to altruism or gratitude are often ineffective. People are fundamentally driven by their own self-interest, and when you need something from them, it's far more persuasive to show them how it benefits them rather than how it helps you. An example from history is when Samuel Adams, during the American Revolution, rallied wealthy businessmen to his cause not by appealing to their sense of patriotism, but by pointing out how an independent nation would benefit their trade interests. In the corporate world, this law advises aligning your requests with the self-interest of those from whom you seek support. Rather than seeking favors based on past goodwill, frame your requests in terms of mutual benefit. In personal relationships, appealing to someone's desires or ambitions is far more likely to elicit a positive response than appealing to guilt or sympathy. Law 14, pose as a friend, work as a spy. This law emphasizes the importance of gathering information about your opponents or those in power. Greene argues that power comes from understanding the motives, weaknesses, and desires of others. To gain this knowledge, one must sometimes play the role of a friend or ally, all while subtly collecting information that can be used to one's advantage. One of the best historical examples Greene provides is that of Cardinal Richelieu, who planted spies among his supposed friends and allies to ensure that he always had the upper hand in negotiations and power struggles. In the business world, this law translates to keeping a close eye on competitors or colleagues while projecting a friendly and cooperative image. Gathering intelligence allows you to anticipate their moves and adjust your strategy accordingly. In social settings, playing the role of a confidant while quietly observing behavior can reveal weaknesses or opportunities for leverage. Law 15, crush your enemy totally. Greene's 15th law is stark in its ruthlessness. When you go to war, leave no room for your enemy to recover or retaliate. He argues that incomplete victories often leave the defeated party with enough strength to regroup and seek revenge. Therefore, when you decide to act, you must do so with total commitment, ensuring that your opponent is left powerless to challenge you again. Greene highlights examples like the Roman general Scipio, who utterly destroyed Carthage after the Punic Wars, ensuring that the city would never again rise to challenge Rome. In modern contexts, this could be seen in corporate takeovers where eliminating a competitor means not only defeating them but dismantling their business entirely. This law doesn't only apply to outright enemies. Sometimes it can mean eliminating rivals within your own organization who might pose a future threat. In personal relationships, it could involve completely cutting off toxic individuals who seek to undermine you, leaving no opportunity for them to return and wreak havoc. Law 16, use absence to increase respect and honor. Greene suggests that overexposure breeds familiarity, and with familiarity comes a loss of respect. To maintain influence and allure, it's crucial to create a sense of mystery around yourself by withdrawing from time to time. This law is rooted in the understanding that people value what they can't easily have. A historical figure who mastered this art was Napoleon Bonaparte, who would periodically remove himself from the public eye, increasing the intrigue and respect around his persona. His absences made people wonder what he was planning, and his eventual return would always be met with renewed attention and admiration. In modern life, this law can be applied by deliberately creating scarcity around yourself or your work. Whether in business or social circles, making yourself less available at strategic moments can enhance your perceived value. In relationships, absence can create longing and deepen emotional bonds, making your presence feel more special. Law 17, keep others in suspended terror, cultivate an air of unpredictability. Greene's 17th law centers around the concept of unpredictability. If people are never quite sure what your next move will be, they'll constantly feel on edge, unsure of how to react or prepare. This keeps them in a state of anxiety and defensiveness, allowing you to maintain control. An example Greene cites is the behavior of Emperor Nero, who was known for his erratic and often terrifying unpredictability. This kept the Roman Senate and his enemies constantly off balance, unable to mount an effective opposition. In business, cultivating unpredictability might mean breaking patterns in negotiations or introducing unexpected tactics in competition. This creates a psychological advantage, as opponents are forced to react rather than plan. In personal relationships, small doses of unpredictability can keep others engaged and interested, avoiding the staleness that often leads to a loss of power in romantic or social dynamics. Law 18. Do not build fortresses to protect yourself. Isolation is dangerous. While the instinct to isolate oneself when under threat is natural, Greene argues that this can actually be a dangerous move. Isolation cuts you off from valuable information, makes you appear weak, and leaves you vulnerable to outside forces. Instead, it's better to stay in the thick of things, connected to people and events, where you can maneuver and respond to threats as they arise. Greene uses the historical example of Charles V, Holy Roman Emperor, who made the mistake of retreating into isolation, ultimately weakening his position and allowing his enemies to consolidate power against him. In a modern context, this law can be applied in business by staying connected to networks and information streams even in times of crisis. Cutting yourself off from colleagues or competitors can leave you out of the loop, making it difficult to adapt or respond to changes. In relationships, shutting people out when under pressure can lead to alienation and lost opportunities for support or alliance. Law 19. Know who you're dealing with, do not offend the wrong person. One of the keys to power, Greene explains, is recognizing the personalities and temperaments of those around you. People respond to different tactics depending on their psychology, and offending the wrong person can be a fatal mistake. Greene categorizes people into types: the arrogant, the insecure, the strong, and advises readers to approach each type with a different strategy. A historical example is the infamous General Patton, who misjudged Stalin's character and power in post-World War II negotiations, leading to tensions that shaped the Cold War. In business, misreading a competitor's resilience or ambition can lead to costly mistakes. Similarly, in social dynamics, failing to understand someone's insecurities or temperament can lead to unnecessary conflict. Knowing who you're dealing with allows you to tailor your approach, ensuring that you navigate situations without creating unintended enemies. Law 20. Do not commit to anyone. Greene advises against showing total loyalty to any one group, person, or cause. By keeping your options open and remaining unattached, you maintain flexibility and freedom. Greene warns that when you commit too fully to any one side, you lose your independence and become tied to the fortunes or failures of that side. The key is to maintain neutrality and independence as much as possible, allowing you to switch allegiances when the time is right. Historical figures like Queen Elizabeth I mastered this art by refusing to commit to marriage or to any one political faction, thereby retaining power over both suitors and courtiers alike. In the corporate world, committing to one project or partnership too early can lead to missed opportunities or being dragged down by the failures of others. In relationships, maintaining a level of detachment can sometimes give you the upper hand, as it keeps people working to earn your favor rather than taking your loyalty for granted. Law 21. Play a sucker to catch a sucker, seem dumber than your mark. Greene explains that by feigning ignorance or incompetence, you can lure others into a false sense of superiority, making them more likely to underestimate you. This can give you a strategic advantage, as they become overconfident or careless, leaving themselves vulnerable to your true capabilities. Greene provides examples of historical con artists and political figures who used this strategy to great effect. By appearing harmless or less capable than they were able to lull their enemies into complacency before striking. In today's world, this law can apply to negotiations or business dealings where appearing less informed can encourage others to reveal more than they intended. In personal dynamics, pretending not to understand certain social cues or agendas can allow you to observe more without being perceived as a threat. Law 22. Use the surrender tactic, transform weakness into power. Surrender is often seen as a sign of weakness, but Greene suggests that strategic retreat can actually be a form of power. By yielding in the short term, you can buy time to regroup, gather resources, or shift the balance of power. In some cases, surrender can disarm your enemies, making them overconfident and careless. An example Greene uses is the story of Fabius Maximus, who famously avoided direct confrontation with Hannibal during the Second Punic War. Instead of engaging in costly battles, Fabius wore Hannibal's forces down through strategic retreat and delay, eventually leading to Roman victory. In modern life, this law applies to situations where you might need to back down temporarily in order to regroup or gain a more advantageous position. Whether in business negotiations or personal conflicts, knowing when to retreat can prevent further damage and set the stage for a stronger comeback. Law 23. Concentrate your forces. Greene advocates focusing your energy, resources, and time on one goal or objective rather than dispersing them across multiple ventures. Concentration allows for maximum impact and greater success. When you spread yourself too thin, you dilute your power and risk achieving nothing substantial. The historical example of Napoleon is instructive here. He concentrated his military forces in key battles, achieving overwhelming victories against larger, dispersed armies. In the modern world, this law advises against trying to do too much at once. In business, focusing on one key project or area of expertise can lead to greater success than trying to be involved in too many ventures. In relationships, focusing your energy on deepening a few key connections can be more powerful than spreading yourself thin across many. Law 24. Play the perfect courtier. The courtier's world, as described by Greene, is a delicate and treacherous one, where maintaining favor with those in power is crucial. This law emphasizes the importance of mastering the art of diplomacy, charm, and subtlety. A courtier must never appear to be openly pursuing power but must instead win influence by making the ruler feel secure, entertained, and admired. Greene offers the example of Count Baldassare Castiglione, who wrote the Book of the Courtier in the 16th century. Castiglione's advice became the foundation for courtiers, teaching them how to behave with tact, delicacy, and grace to win the favor of those in power. The perfect courtier knows how to offer flattering advice without ever threatening the ego of the ruler, and he or she is always careful to hide personal ambition. In modern life, this law applies to corporate settings where navigating office politics requires finesse. Gaining influence often means mastering the art of managing superiors while never appearing too ambitious. The best way to thrive is by making those in power feel safe, secure, and superior while you quietly build your own influence from the background. Law 25. Recreate yourself. Greene argues that power is often about the ability to control how others perceive you. One way to maintain control is through constant reinvention. By recreating yourself, you can adapt to new circumstances, changing people's perception of you and maintaining an aura of intrigue and mystery. The French artist and politician Charles Maurice de Talleyrand is a prime example of this law. Over the course of his long political career, Talleyrand shifted alliances and political personas multiple times, maintaining power throughout the French Revolution, Napoleon's reign, and the restoration of the monarchy. His ability to reinvent himself allowed him to thrive in different regimes, keeping his enemies and allies alike off balance. In today's world, this law applies to career shifts or personal reinvention. By continuously evolving, whether through new skills, roles, or even social personas, you keep others guessing and prevent being pigeonholed. Reinvention also allows you to adapt to changing circumstances, positioning yourself for new opportunities while keeping your rivals off guard. Please listen to Part 2 of the book, The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene.